Today, we are going to create our chameleon sitting on a leaf. I'm going to start with my stencil. I'm going to trace all the way around the outside of the leaf. Press all the way through the clay with your paper clip. Press firmly so that way the shape turns out accurately. I am going to cut out the whole shape first. Then I'm going to remove the extra. Before you take off the paper stencil, go back and do the little cutout spots on the leaf stencil. Once you have taken out that extra bit of clay between the different parts of the leaf, you can go ahead and take off the leaf stencil. I am now going to use a little bit of water to smooth out some of the rough edges on my leaf. Carefully just do a little bit of water. You do not want it to turn too muddy. All I'm doing is just fixing some of those rough spots on the leaf. I am now going to use the pencil to draw a curve through the center of the leaf. Now I'm going to draw a shorter line into each section of the leaf. Once you have done that, go back and add some more little lines to give it more details. These are the veins in the leaf. Now that my leaf is done, I'm going to set it to the side and I'm going to move on to making the body for the chameleon. Start with a very large piece of clay. Roll it in your hands to make a sphere. If it has any bumps or cracks in it, you can use a little bit of water to help smooth it out. Once it has become round, you are now going to roll back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to create more of an oval shape with your clay. Now that it is thick on one side, I'm going to make the other side long and thin and into a coil. I am only rolling 1/2 of the clay. It is going to become like an ice cream cone or a long skinny triangle. I want to make a cone shape. Now, as you're doing this, if it starts to crack, put a little bit of water so the clay stays together and it doesn't break. Just roll 1/2 of it. That looks good. So now I'm going to take it. I'll make sure there's put some water on there in case there's any cracks. And that looks nice. Okay, that's good. So now I'm going to start rolling the tail. I'm going to pinch it at the end and I'm going to curve it up. I'm going to roll the tail all the way from the skinny end of the cone to where it starts to get a little bit thicker. We go maybe a little bit more, maybe a little more water, right about there. So I'm going to make sure I smooth out any cracks in my clay with a little bit of water so that way it doesn't fall apart. Now I'm going to move on to making the feet. The back feet are going to be shorter than the front feet. Altogether, he needs to have 4 legs. I'm going to make 2 spheres for the back legs. And then I'm going to get a piece of clay that's a little bit bigger. And I'm going to break it in half. And I'm going to make sort of like a very small oval shape for the front legs. So it's just a little bit bigger than the back legs. So that way he's standing up correctly. See how those are a little bit longer and these are a little bit shorter. To attach the legs, you are going to create a hashtag mark where you would like them to go. So I'm going to make 4 hashtags and place on the back side of my chameleon, and that's where I'm going to place my legs. So the hashtag also has to go on the leg, so that way the 2 spots will connect together. Now what I'm going to do is blend the legs into the body. I'm going to smooth the pieces down. Once you have smoothed them down and they're attached, it'll look as if the body and the legs are all one solid piece instead of 2 or 3 separate pieces. Do this carefully. That looks good. So now let's do it to the other side. See how it looks like one solid piece? And it doesn't look like the legs are attached by clay. They just look like they're part of the regular body. So let's smooth those together. It'll also help to keep them from falling apart later and from falling off. That looks good. So now let's move on to the next part, which is making the head of the chameleon. Make sure you get a piece that's big enough. Not too big, but not too small. Let's roll it into a sphere. Now I'm going to squeeze it and pinch it. Squeeze it and pinch it to make one side pointy with my finger. Now I'm going to take my paper clip and I'm going to very carefully press into the clay to create his mouth. Oh, he's holding on to my paper clip. And I'm going to wiggle it out and kind of separate the clay as I pull the paper clip out. And you can see there's his mouth. So I can smooth it out with a little bit of water if it gets a little bit messed up. Make sure the clay is nice and smooth. I am now going to place hashtag marks on the back of the head. But first, before I do that, I think I'm going to add the other pieces to the face. Let's make some eyeballs by rolling 2 spheres and squishing them flat. And I can poke with the eraser side of my pencil and the lead side of my pencil to create his eye. So he gets 2 pokes in the eye, one with the eraser and one with the lead side of the pencil. I'm going to put the hashtag marks where I want it to attach and kind of put a little water, smooth it out, get those cracks, make sure it's stuck on there. Do the same thing for the other side. Once I have attached both eyeballs, I'm going to roll a very tiny coil and curl just the end of it to make his tongue that's sticking out of his mouth. I am going to do the little hashtag marks on the tongue and inside of his mouth to attach his tongue. That looks good. Press it down. Make sure it is stuck. Roll it up. Don't let it stick out too far. The farther out it sticks, the more likely it will break. Now I'm going to flatten the back of his head. I'm going to put the hashtag mark on the back of his head. And I'm going to flatten out the neck of the lizard's body. And I'm going to put some little bit of water on there, squish them together. Now I'm going to use my fingers to kind of smudge them together to seal that seam so it looks like it's blended and it's all one continuous body, and to make sure that his head does not fall off. That looks good. Now the next step is to add some texture. I'm going to poke 2 nostrils in his nose first. After I have added the nostrils, I'm going to use the lead side of the pencil to create texture by poking just very lightly, not real deep, just a little lightly, some bumps on his skin to create texture for his body. When I'm all done, I'm going to clean up my materials. I'm going to place both of my pieces of clay together. Don't attach the lizard to the leaf. We're going to leave them separate. Place your stuff on the side and you're all done.